Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the four here and the few listening, it's time!
Peeking my audio here.
Okay, well, then you can do the fucking intro music.
Sweet Strats! Sweet Strats! Are you gaming with me? Sweet Strats! Sweet Strats! Are you gaming with me? Are you gaming with me?
Alright, welcome back to another episode of Sweet Strats. I'm Harley.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Matt.
I'm Zach.
Last week we talked about Coup, Resistance, and a few other games. Tonight we have the Manhattan Project for you guys. But before we dive into our plays and strategies, I want to talk about something. You know, I wrote these notes out, but I was sitting at home last week and I was looking at my collection, and man, I got a bunch of shrink wrap games, dude. And then I was also looking at the ones that I haven't even played, and a lot of them, we've only gotten to play once, because we have such big game collections. And I mean, I think you're getting close to me. I think Matt, you're getting real close to me.
Yeah, I think you're still way ahead of me. Like, just looking on Board Game Geek, you're way down there.
Well, I know Jeremy surpassed me.
I got
a long time ago.
So I'm
got
at
a couple shelves full.
I think I'm at like 50 now, close to 50 or 60 now. And y'all are like way over in the hundreds.
Yeah, but some of my stuff's like expansions, especially for like Netrunner.
Yeah.
Like Summoner Wars, that's 30 entries by itself. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, over Christmas, jeez, bro, you jumped
last,
up.
Yeah, I kind of been crazy the last couple months. Last half a year.
I can't do it. I can't have a bunch of shit. Ever since I got rid of all my CDs and like every other collection that I had, I can't amass a huge amount of stuff again. That's why it's like awesome to hang out with you guys, because then I can just select. I can buy the stuff that I really like. That's like I bought that stupid Space Cadets and I still haven't played it.
Dude, bring it over, man.
Yeah, you hadn't even read the rules. I gave you.
You can just loan it out to us.
Yeah,
I was actually thinking about just giving it to Harley.
Like back when we first started playing, like that was like the best game that like any of us had, kind of like the most fun game.
Yeah.
We're like, Harley, just go get it from Zach. Just go steal it. So we want to play that.
Yeah, and remember the one time a couple times we actually got to play and we had drunk driver Shane.
Yeah.
He couldn't figure out how to lay the tiles.
We played like one turn. Shane's like driving and like, I forgot how it went. I think we just like went around in a circle in the same square, dropped the bomb, and then didn't do anything else.
And then the next time he ran us straight into the enemy ship.
Yeah.
And then he threw his hands up in the air and was like, I can't play this no more, let's play something different.
Yeah, I think Tom Dassel hyped that game too much.
What?
I don't think it's as fun as he makes it out to be.
We never really got to try it.
We haven't got to try it. I mean, maybe not as fun, but as accessible as he makes it out to be. Because it is a ton of stuff to read.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll admit that. Setup time and startup, like especially first game, is definitely lengthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That kind of killed it for that original group because everyone was just kind of tired of listening.
Yeah.
And everyone was not a board gamer, pretty much.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Who all was there that night?
H.R. Ramsey,
He plays words.
Shane Ramsey,
Well, Shane Ramsey was drunk.
Brandon Ramsey,
Was Brandon? Oh, Brandon was drunk too.
Yeah.
Alf Ramsey,
Well, I mean, Peter played.
I forgot who else was there. Seemed like we had a female.
maybe Money was there.
Well, money counts as a female.
Well, I mean, that's funny. Money's a female. Brandon will get a kick out of that when he listens. The reason why I actually, bring this up is because a lot of the games that I play when we first played, that isn't a co-op, I really don't play to win. I play to learn the game, to watch you guys, to watch the other players, to see how they interact with the board and how I can interact with the board.
Yeah.
So, in the future, I can, try to develop some sort of idea of how to win and claim victory, like Conan.
Here are the limitations of the women.
Yeah. But, I mean, I bring this, what? Go ahead.
No, so why you got so much plastic on your shelf still? Where were we going with that?
No, what I was gonna say is like, you know, we play we don't play the games like a second and third time. So you know, they sit there and then you're back to square one. You know, I've got to replay it. We got to relearn it, reread the rules. I mean, you guys are gonna find out tonight just how badly we butchered these rules for the Manhattan Project. But you know, I find that especially for game nights, you know, I really gotta. If I really like a game, I gotta shove it down people's throats. I mean, just like Tigers and Euphrates.
You brought it the last 8 times you showed up.
Yeah,
and then it gotten played a couple times at least.
I know,
I
but
like the game. But
I don't like. I don't like trying to. I don't like forcing my game on people. But man, I really want to play it. I love it.
I really don't like playing a game one time and then moving on if it's a heavier game. Like when we played Manhattan Project the first time, we played it twice.
Yeah, we played it again immediately. Like everybody liked it. Like set it up. Let's set it up again, and we had a second run right then.
Yeah, I wish we could get to a point with a lot of games like this one to where everybody's played it a lot, everybody knows what's going on, and you have like a really competitive game to where, you know, you don't have to worry about like stomping on a noob or, you know, you can be cutthroat and aggressive because everybody knows what's going on.
They should know what to expect. They know what they can do and what the opponents can do to
So
them, so they don't have an excuse for.
So you end up
having a little bit. Yeah.
You end up having a deeper experience because you played it a bunch of times. You really know the strategies. You get that really competitive nature going.
Yeah. And it definitely helps with playtime. I mean, that
exactly.
time we set it up, we was less than an hour. We had another
through
play already under our belt because we set it up. We knew the rules. We just got going and took off.
You know, but you talked about when we first played it, we were able to play it again. I mean, how long was our second third playthroughs? We got done in what, an hour? Under an hour?
First one last night was an hour and a half.
And the second one?
It's a little bit under that.
Okay.
We did two games in 3 hours. And that was with a 20-minute break.
That felt like it was longer than 20 minutes. But, I mean, you know, whatever. But the reason why I was bringing that up is because, like, some of those heavier Euro games, like Vinos, man, there's a lot to that. And I really want to play it, but that's a 3-hour game. It's not something you can just set right back up.
Well, that's another thing it's another type of game once you know how it flows, how it works, and you don't have that 20-minute upfront explanation. Me and Melanie have knocked out a game in under an hour of that. I mean, I know it's only 2 players, but same thing. The setup is what takes a long time with his games. I've got 3 out of 4. The only one I didn't back the Gallerist is coming out later this year, but I picked up CO2. I've got
I was looking at that one.
And all his games they've got heavy setup. There's a lot of tiles, there's a lot of moving parts, but the boards make sense. They flow together, so you can see how things, once you see a couple rounds in, it's just like any other game, things start to flow and make sense. If you can just remember if you can remember how those things interact, then you can actually speed up the process. And it's on Vinos, it's as simple as taking your choice of 9 different actions.
Right.
You've got 2 per round, and there's 6 rounds with 3 scoring rounds throughout the game. That's it. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, but that wine fair is horrible.
It's a little.
You had to really prepare for that since it's such a major part of the game.
It's a big focus, but it's also not necessarily the best points.
No.
Exporting is where I've missed out on a couple games, and that's what lost me the game.
Well, you know, the one time we played, I was in 3rd place with exporting, and I don't know where I was in the wine fair. I know I wasn't last. I think I was 3rd. But I mean, Mo, he just ran away with it, and you know that just seemed like give him the most points. And
later on, he definitely made a big swing.
Yeah,
surpassed me. Like my whole focus was, all right, the wine fair is where the points are. I'm going to stay ahead of that pack as long as I can. It turns out we were playing the fairs wrong the entire time anyway. But
you basically just can't be last in the fair because 1, 2, 3 gets points, consistent points, and the last just gets nothing.
Weren't you last?
No, I was last the whole time. I was last in the fair and then last in the board.
That's for another episode.
Yeah. Hopefully we get to play it.
Yeah.
Bring it. I was going to be picking one of his bring. That might be the one since we at least already played it once. But you guys need to see Convo.
Yeah, we want to play that one too.
See, I want to. Okay, here's the thing. I want since we played whatever.
That wine game.
That Portuguese wine game. Since we played that, I've been dying to play it again because just like I said, the first time I play, I'm not playing to win. I'm trying to get gather because what did I have? I had a vineyard with 2 workers. And that's all I had the entire game. I mean, I did okay, I guess.
That's really all you need, too.
Yeah.
That can keep you enough wine stock to get some money, get some exports, score some points in the fair. It can happen.
It didn't help that you guys stayed down there in the selling the wine track.
Yeah, that
and
whole
blocking
track was
that.
full.
That was bull.
The way I ran this thing, I was like, I think I'll just leave all my kegs here.
Yeah.
All my barrels just hanging out. We'll get another player for sure.
Yeah.
That's like Twilight Imperium. When we played that, I thought about it for like the next week.
I can't stop about Twilight.
Yeah, I
love
want to
Twilight
play it
Imperium.
with people who've had at least one run through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking on the group today, and one of the San Angelo guys. Because was that Chris Ald or Alden?
Yeah. So I'm both about something.
Yeah, he was talking about Argent, and that's another game I hadn't got to play, and I've got both expansions.
No shit.
They're just sitting there shrink wrapped.
I thought about bringing that one too. So if you want to play it, it'll go in the tub.
I mean, I could bring it too, but we're gonna bring so many games. I got a duffel bag that's coming with me.
Well, we got 3 days. Surely we can get
Yeah.
at least 3 out of the 8 that we bring played, right?
Well, they have a library. I don't know what all they have. But
we have a library.
Yeah, we do have a library.
So we're gonna have to start our own cafe after the show takes off, man.
No kidding, dude. I would so love this to do a board game cafe. So would love to.
Food and games,
Yeah,
shooting the shit on the internet.
yeah,
It's the American dream.
sure is. And at least it is for me, and it seems like it is for some people in this room. So I just really want to kind of wrap up with that. Big game, having a big game collection. How bad it hinders trying to be able to get that second play and try to develop some sort of strategy to play over a long run, especially if you love the game.
Yeah.
Like, because I got to tell you guys, it's Tigers and Euphrates for me right now. I will play that game every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
We'll play it twice Sunday.
Oh, it's coming with me, man.
I knew it was.
I'm gonna be going around. I'm gonna be just like I was in Walmart that night. Hey, you guys want to play a game? Something I wanted to ask you guys. How many actually plays do you guys think it takes to come up with a viable strategy for a game?
I'd say you could start to form a decent strategy with maybe 3. And I think it's easier if you're with opponents that can also pick up on it quick and start to challenge you in your strategy.
Yeah,
They're going to start to see things that maybe you missed, and you start to play off of them and discover what works, what doesn't, maybe what can hinder their strategies, that kind of thing. You've got to be able to match minds with somebody.
that's
If you're
true.
just playing with people who are not in it and they're just not
Yeah,
focused, then you're not going to know what actually works. You're just going to know you're running away with it, and it seems like everything works. But
Yeah, that's
true.
the great thing about most board games is it's all, for the most part, every game is interactive. It's all based off what your opponents are doing, pretty much.
yeah, and you've
So
got to be
your,
able
your,
to.
your strategy's got to change on the fly based on variable elements in the game plus variable elements in your opponents.
Unless you're playing with people that stare at their phone the entire time.
Yeah, of course. Then
And side vampire you.
And something I've been doing lately is I've been like some of the deeper games that I really want to get into. I've been like looking up strategies online, just seeing what other people are doing, just kind of doing a little more research in the game, trying to see what we're doing wrong and so.
Well, you're trying to get ahead of the curve to beat me,
Yeah.
I got to be honest. Besides looking up for TI, this was one of the first games I actually looked up. The strategies because so we could talk about them after we all talk about our stuff. Well, no, I'm the only one with pages of show notes. Anybody else got anything that you might want to talk about?
All I got is Manhattan Project stuff.
Yeah, I got that too. All right, so on with it, I guess. So this week we played 3 games. Manhattan Project. It was designed by Brandon Tibbetts, and it was been published by a few companies. However, I think our copier is Minion Games. At least mine is sitting here with us. Jeremy's going to give us a brief explanation of the game, so here we go.
So, Manhattan Project. It is a worker placement game. It's a little different than most, where instead of just placing on the main board, you're also building up a tableau of cards in front of you where you can also place workers. And you can place as many of your workers onto that tableau as you want. So you're essentially building an engine, and you want to build that engine efficiently to where you can place as many of your workers in a single placement in a turn in order to later on retrieve them. So the only 2 things you're doing on your turn are either placing workers or retrieving them. And the more efficient you can make that process, the quicker you can jump ahead. The ultimate goal is to be building bombs. There's 2 types of bombs, plutonium and uranium. In order to get those ingredients, you're going to need to collect yellow cake. In order to get that, you're going to have to get some scientists, some engineers together. You might have to get some money. But there's really a lot of different ways to go about the ultimate goal of producing the bombs. Really, that's about it. Play goes clockwise. You play up to a certain score limit based on the number of players that are at the table. First one to reach that limit wins. Every player just starts with 4 basic workers, and you can unlock 4 scientists or 4 engineers throughout the game, which have special actions they can take on the board and different actions that will happen on your tableau cards also.
There are also contractors, which anybody can get.
Oh yeah, there's the neutral workers. So if you were to produce an extra scientist or engineer, or even some of the playing guys, you can have some extra guys for a placement or 2 that would later go back to the board once you retreat.
There's also a track on the board called the espionage track, which allows you to place your workers and contract workers on other players' player board. It's very important and not to be overlooked.
I was thinking the exact same line, not to be overlooked. It can definitely add to any strategy.
In my opinion, the most important part of the game.
It's pretty damn close.
It's pretty damn good. It really is.
All right, so before we actually start talking about our games, I wanted to mention there's a rule in the placement that for a year we have messed up, and not only us, but another friend of ours and his group in Austin have messed up too. When you place, there are 2 steps. Step 1 is you may place on the main board. Notice I said may.
Emphasis on may.
You do not have to do this. We were playing, you had to place on the main board first. The second step is you can place on your player board, or you may place on your player board. The only caveat to the placing is you have to at least place 1 worker either on the main board or your board. You don't have to place them all, but you have to place at least 1. Also, if you decide not to place on the main board, you cannot go back to the main board once you place on your board. So you have to go step 1, step 2, but you do not have to place on the main board. Also, I'd like to point out that during the 3 plays that we played, one of the way to get points after you build your bomb is to load them onto a bomber. Well, your player board has a track for fighters and bombers, and it goes up to 10, and every time you load a bomb, you not only pay the money to load it, but you reduce your bomber by 1 on this track. We did not do this at all. Also,
You can stop listening to the podcast now.
Our strats are nil.
Also, we get here today, or tonight, and we were talking before we started recording, and my brother brings up the fact that not only do your fighters attack other people's fighters, but they can attack their bombers too, or attack their bombers instead of the fighters. Because the way that you bomb somebody's buildings in their tableau is you have to destroy all their fighters, and then you can use your bombers as a bombing run. Zachary was lighting us up all 3 games. He bombed us all 3 games.
Airstrike heavy strategy.
Yes. Little did we know we could have got fighters and destroyed his bombers. We just let it happen like a bunch of dopes.
He did have a mighty impressive fighter army there, though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh,
We still gotta... Yeah, you can attack the bombers through the fighters, regardless of how many fighters.
correct.
The only time you have to attack the fighters is if you're going to be using your bombers
As
on
for
that player's
bombers.
buildings. Yeah. So that could have changed our strategies somewhat. Could have altered them. Whenever
And-
we do the expansion, we'll make sure
We'll make sure to play
to
it
adhere
right.
to those 2 rules and addendum for our strategies on this game. But yeah, it could have changed slightly.
I would also like to add, I read the rules right before we played, So I feel a little bit equally dumb. However, I did catch the main board action.
Yeah. I didn't catch that for at least a dozen plays throughout the 2 years I've owned this game. But I've never missed that bomber where you have to spend it when you reload a bomb. We've always played that correctly. Until we started playing these plays to do the podcast.
Well, it's always something.
That's how it goes.
True.
That's how game chasing goes. Thank you, game chasers, for that phrase. We say it all the time.
Yep. Mobile Street, shout out to the game chasers on YouTube.
Yeah. Just make sure to skip it when they're doing the robot. Jesus.
It's like half the show.
Well, more to Dongo. Alright, so let's go on with game 1. Who wants to start?
I can't remember the actual games. Game 1 was me. Look at my face.
I'm looking at it.
I don't remember the actual play through the games. Listen to me.
You was writing shit down.
I was writing down thoughts and ideas.
Man, you make me sick.
He's writing down thoughts about SummerSlam.
Yeah. John Cena goes over Seth Rollins. I'm sad.
Isn't that a haiku? Well, I mean, okay.
I don't remember exactly how the first game
Like,
went down either. Who
what
was
I
the
did-
winner in the first game?
I was.
You were?
Yeah, so basically my strat in the first game was just basically race for 2 quick uranium bombs, which is really basically the fastest way to win. Because all you need is a cheap source of yellow cake, a cheap source of income, and a cheap uranium factory. And that's literally all you need to make 2 bombs. You need like 9 to 12 uranium total the entire game. And if you start producing that early, there's just not. It's a very fragile strategy, and it's if someone in your group is very aggressive bombing or taking spy action on you, it's pretty tough to get off. But if no one in your group is pretty aggressive with those strategies, you can easily just win the game before anyone else gets their engine going.
Well, in that game,
That's pretty much what happened in game 1. Was I just kind of got off to a quick start, was able to basically make 2 bombs on 1 turn nearly, and load them both on the same turn and just get exactly 50 points.
see, cheater.
Exactly. That was. I would have.
But you didn't have bombers.
In that first game, only had 1 bomber.
Could have changed the whole outcome of that game.
Yep.
Well, and that's the thing with this game is it comes down to a matter of turns between people win.
Yeah.
Because maybe that would have changed it. I don't think that would have changed it.
Probably not.
I don't think anyone was ready to win on the next
I
round.
was close.
Because everybody else was needed to load as well. Although you might have had bombers that first game.
I tested. I plutonium bombed. See, I wrote down game 1. Game 2 is a blank. I got my buildings, but I can't talk about
I remember
that.
what I did is I knew what my strategy was for all these games, and I refined it. The first one was I'm going to try aggressive airstrike. And the first game, it didn't really work out, but I saw where the opportunities were. And by the third game, I knew how to do a devastating airstrike.
Yeah.
Well, when we play expansion, I'm going to fix your wagon wheel. You ain't going to bomb me no more.
It's going to be rockets all the way.
I think that everybody's going to fix your wagon wheel on that one.
I'm still going to stick with the espionage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still... Even with all that knowledge, I still feel that airstrikes are kind of a waste of turn.
Airstrikes...
Because you are negating... It's great in some situations, like in your situation, that last game, where you had kind of total control of everything. You could just totally annihilate us and then have more turns to get back.
You shut down
'Cause,
the
like-
mines big time.
Yeah.
It really did
That's
put
what's
a
great
hamper
about
on
the
things.
spy, is you shut down other people's buildings while taking all those actions yourself. So
Yeah.
you're basically time walking the other opponents. With airstrike, you're just kind of passing turns for everybody, essentially.
And the more you invest in spy, the better it can be
Yeah,
for your
exactly.
engine, because you can do a single action that will let you place a lot of your workers on other buildings.
Yeah,
It
like
has to
even-
be good time, though.
Yeah,
Really?
you'd have to have good timing.
Yeah,
There's got to
like-
be some open spots that you
and even-
need to take.
especially early game, even if you don't really have a lot of good options with the spy, just take the spy and start going up that track.
Yeah.
And then late game, you can just combo off with four placements on all the best buildings.
Well, what I realized, because in the first game I didn't espionage at all.
Yeah.
And it is essential. Even if you're doing a super aggressive strategy, you have to espionage.
Even just to block other people
Yeah.
from jumping in on your engine.
Yeah, if the
'Cause
guy
that
on
can
your
throw
right,
you off.
if the guy on the right just retrieved, you got to take espionage.
You know, the one thing I was going to say about that bombing was it was effective, but you went after the wrong stuff. If you would have taken out enrichment factories, you would have stopped it instead of doing the mines because we all saw. We'll get to third game, but I was the yellow cake master, but I couldn't do anything with it. But if you didn't take it. You took out my mines to stop them. But I think if you would have taken out their enrichment factories and mine too, you would have. That's what you would have. That would have slowed them down enough to maybe where you could win. Because you two, 2-3 turns away, or a turn away, you were going to win the next turn after him, right?
Yeah.
After Germany.
Yeah. If there was a couple spots that if someone had take retrieve, then I would have won. I was waiting for an opening, but I had to build up slowly to my win condition.
Yeah, I think in most cases, in that once it gets to the end game, people are trying to get so far on the plutonium or uranium tracks. So like you were saying, like taking out your plants, I think is more crucial than anything else because that changes your strat. That will delay it by a couple turns more often than not.
Yeah, you're very limited in production whenever you don't have it in front of you.
Yeah.
You've got 2 spots on the board, 1 each for plutonium and uranium. And it's not that they're inefficient, but they're much less efficient than the ones you can get in your engine or even to spy on somebody else's. So if you take those out in game, then it could be more beneficial to do an airstrike than to try and race ahead with yours and try and beat them to the punch.
It's funny you bring up that because during game 1, I started with a couple of universities and I tested a plutonium bomb, and then I built a couple more. I had 40 points and I was about to win if I had been using the uranium track on the board because I could never use my own enrichment. Not because you guys were taking it, but because it was so expensive. And all I needed was 3 uranium. If I'd have been doing that the entire time instead of forgetting it, I would have won game 1, I'm pretty sure. But I forgot about that. Yeah. And I focused more on mine than anything else. So, during that game, I had the buildings, or I had the universities that would give me constant workers. And I was utilizing the spy track a lot. And we found out that during the retrieving process that normally when you put contract workers on the main board, when anybody retrieves, contract workers go off of the board. However, if you put your contract workers on somebody else's player board with the espionage track, that those workers do not leave their buildings until that particular player retrieves. Yeah. So that blocks them for a while.
It can be for a while if they're still trying to do those smaller placements.
So for my strategy for the game 1 was to deny you guys contract workers and to throw them on your player boards as much as I could.
I didn't have any particular strategy I was going for. Normally I stick with plutonium when it's out there. Mm-hmm. I like to test cheap if I can, early if I can, and then I like to go for 2 big bombs, or maybe even 1 big bomb, get it loaded if you've got a bomber.
Yeah.
And hopefully build another little second small one. Maybe even uranium if it's been tough to get the plutonium factories out there. Because, man, it really does come down to what kind of engine you can build. 4 players, those buildings, you go through them quick. I mean, 1 round in, and you've probably got a dozen buildings in play. And chances are you didn't get all the ones you were trying to get your engine going.
Especially university wise.
Oh man, they go quick.
If you're not grabbing a university or a mine in your first action, I almost want to say you're plumb dumb.
Yeah. Listen, just don't have the opportunity to. But
if you don't have the opportunity to grab one of the buildings, but what is it? The first 6 buildings are always the same, and one's a scientist university. One's a university to make a scientist. One's a university to make an engineer. There's at least You got one worker for 1 cake. You got a 2 worker for 2 cake. You got one that's a factory that's either 2 coins or a bomber. Another factory that's either 2 coins or a fighter. Those 6 starting cards are always going to be out there. Right.
The order will be different, but they're always going to be there. And getting those early universities, it can be key. It's a worker placement game that takes specific workers to do specific action.
Yep.
More workers of the specific type is always better. If you're not focusing on that, you're not going to be able to keep up.
I will say that I know that first game was kind of clunky that we played, but I actually didn't have any universities that entire game. I just went the scumbum route the entire time. But I only had like 5 buildings total the entire game. So I was able to use all my workers efficiently, but I just didn't have that many. So I mean, that's if you're going for kind of a quick, fragile strategy like that, that can work.
Yeah.
So I built up my workforce very slow, but I had a shitload of yellow cake and uranium by the time I finally got my workforce. So I was able to spend it all really fast after that.
But you were also playing like the slow road.
Yeah.
You were building up. I mean, you did build up slow, but you were building up to.
Yeah, like I was still like once I got my workers, I was able to efficiently dump all my resources a lot faster. Than everyone else who was just kind of going the normal route.
If you can get that engine to where it's a place one big time, retrieve one time, maybe with a worker or two left over, then you're going to be moving right along quick. Because those little small, I'm going to place my one engineer to get the free building. It might seem like it's going to help you out, but it might actually be hurting you later on.
Yeah.
And you won't realize it until you lose by one turn.
Yeah, that's true.
That could have been much more efficient had you just retrieved the turn before. You would have been able to get what you needed. So you really want to get your engine efficient to the workforce that you have. And I think that's another thing that the spot track helps do a lot because of how many workers you can dump out if you can catch spot. And then just fill in the rest of your board in a single placement. You've got all your workers probably somewhere. You might have a few left over that you couldn't get out depending on what buildings you're spying on, but it can help you throw out a lot of workers because it's not the number of workers, it's placement.
Right.
If you can do 4 placements on, you can just cherry pick them on all the other players, get the stuff you need that way. Whether it's more efficient or less efficient, it could end up being more efficient if you can do it all in one placement.
Especially if you retrieve and everybody else is fixing to retrieve.
Yeah.
Then
you've got to watch. I'm looking at everybody's workers like, shit, can they do anything? Is there anything else they're going to be able to do before I jump in on this spy? Nope, nobody else can do it.
Well, so from game one...
one other just basic thing that I thought of is if you're getting a specialty worker, not a scum lord, it's either scientist or
engineer,
you got to go with the engineer first. Because scientists, you only use them for enriching in the reactors and in universities sometimes. But engineers can be used in the mines. They're used for building stuff.
Factories.
Yeah. So if you have to choose, then I would go with the engineers.
I would agree. Yeah. Just getting the free building can definitely get your engine up and running a little bit quicker.
Well, then how many engineers... Well, you know what? Let's save all of that until the end. Let's move on with the games. Because, I mean, not to stop this and everything, but it seems like the summation is where we need to bring all this in.
We'll get back to it.
Yo, I guess you're right.
It'll be the sweet strat bullet points. We'll highlight it and shout about it.
So overall from game one, you're saying go engineer?
Well, I'm saying that,
or that's what you learned from game one.
That's all I learned because I think that the first thing I did is get a stupid scientist. And it was downhill from there.
Oh yeah, you and Matt both went scumbum way to get workers.
Yeah.
I was like,
we grabbed buildings.
I really don't want to spend 3 gold.
You got both the universities in that game. You got both the opening universities.
How did I get?
Just the way
because of how it came.
Like there's nobody else.
That track is shifting quick.
That's right.
So by the time it comes around to you, what was 20 coins for us is only 3 for you.
Yeah.
And you already have an engineer because you got that one first.
Because you went scumbum placing in the university on the main board for engineer.
Yeah.
You went scumbum placing on the main board university for a scientist.
Yeah, like
all the entire time I'm sitting there watching where it costs 3 coins to get that university, thinking that's not going to be there for me. That's not going to be there for me. And there it was, and I grabbed it, and yeah.
Terrible strat is round 1 getting a scientist.
I'd say if it's out there, get it. More workers is more workers.
If you can get the university, yes. Yeah. But I just placed on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that because I was wondering, why is that engineering university? Because the next thing he goes, God damn it. So, overall for me, when it came down to it, I think what lost it for me, and at least in game 1, was I didn't pay attention to the fissionable materials enrichment on the board. I focused too much on myself. And the contract workers on other people's player boards I thought was an excellent idea because I had a lot.
I think that's what ended up slowing me down a lot of the first game is I had one good mine that you just sat on for at least 3 or 4 turns.
Yep.
And I probably should have just bid it, retrieved, got that shit off my board, and then started getting things running again. But I didn't. I sat there doing less efficient actions, and I wasn't far from winning, but I wasn't close either at the end. And
Oh, that's another good thing to bring up is sometimes I would place my stuff, and I had a university that would give one engineer, and I already had max engineers, but I'd have workers left over, and I wouldn't put anything there. But when you're leaving that open, you're leaving it open for someone to use.
Yeah.
So it's always good to block a building even if you're not using it.
yeah, denying actions
Yes.
can be just as efficient as taking them for yourself in a lot of instances, especially with the spy.
Anything else about game 1, fellas?
Not really. I tried to do what I always do, which is the 2-player games me and Mal used to play, and it didn't end up working in the end. But normally I go Plutonium. Might do a little bit of spying because it's not as great in a 2-player game. It's good. It's always good, but you can definitely tell a difference when the player count starts getting up. That spy is where it's at. You want to get it when it's open.
Well, so game 2, I wrote down my universities, but I can't tell you what happened.
This is where I showed my true dominance,
Oh, in
my
flight school.
real ultimate power.
Yeah,
No,
the
I think
industrial complex.
I think
Full swing.
that was in game 3 when I finally figured that out. Winning this one,
You didn't? Did you win this one?
yeah, I won the second one
By a turn.
by a turn.
Had I not done something stupid there, like last couple turns, it would have been me. But I didn't see it when it happened. Like, shit, why did I just do that? I probably just gave the game up because I saw on his track. He had some materials. He had some bomb making stuff. It was probably going to happen.
Yeah, but once again, didn't you load it on a couple of different bombers and you didn't use?
I would have been able to pay for it.
You wouldn't have been able to
If
bomb our
anybody
buildings?
had the bombers to do it, it would have been that
I mean,
guy.
that's true.
Yeah, in this game, I had factories that kept me in fighters and bombers the entire game.
Oh, after our first game and you went on that bombing tirade, that at least in the second game is when I bought that factory where for 2 engineers you could get 2 fighters and 2 bombers. That was wrecking us in that first game. I hate drafted you on that.
Yeah, well, in the second game,
Didn't help.
I didn't do efficient air raids because there were sometimes when I would just go after one person. If you take an air raid, you have to take out all the defenses you can, everyone, because
Right.
you can go for every player, even if you're not getting everyone defenseless. If you're getting most people defenseless, that's fine, and then use your bombers as much as you want to take out their essential stuff. If it's early game, you take out mines, universities in some cases. Especially when like Harley had that goon squad university where he pays one guy and he gets 4 guys and they're going out on his espionage.
That goon squad was nice.
Get them, boys.
And then the only other thing I did is I had an expensive plutonium bomb. I built that because I saw that in the stack or on the 5 bombs that were out, I saw 2 or 3 cheap plutonium. And I was like, well, if I can get that, I'm not going to test this because you can test your bomb at any time. So I gambled, loaded that bomb, and then I drafted, I think, a 4 plutonium bomb. Tested that, and then got another cheap one.
The 4 plutonium is the best one you can get to test.
Yeah.
If you can get them with less scientists and engineers, even better. Some of them only require like 1 scientist, 1 engineer.
Yeah.
At least some of the uranium bombs do for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
you can get them 1 less worker. But yeah, 4 is as cheap as it gets. So that's what you want to test.
Yeah, along those same lines, I think being aggressive with bomb design is pretty underrated in the game. So a lot of times you just need
You're
to
right.
go for it earlier than you think you will, just to get the one best bomb that's out there, just to guarantee that you can get it. That could completely change your strategy.
You can
At least it did for me.
You can start building your strategy based on what.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
It's like
50 points.
I remember in the first game that I was the first one that took bomb design, and I immediately had the 2 bombs I needed to win, and so the rest of the game I immediately knew exactly what I needed to win. That's what.
Yeah, that is a
That's
good
what
idea
I
because
would
you
do.
know what you're going for the whole time.
Because I mean, usually there's one or 2 really good bombs that are like just efficiently require less or easier to make or whatever, and it's better just to something just go for it and skip your turn doing something else just to get that one bomb that you really need.
Yeah. And then your opponents, they might not even know what strategy they're trying to pursue at that point. They're just, just take whatever. This looks good. And then
they get stuck with
you might get the exact 2 that you're needing.
they get stuck with some
Jump on
jank bomb they can't do anything with or whatever.
Yeah, that's how. Because I already had a reactor for plutonium on my board. I may have 1 or 2, and then I got a plutonium bomb. It's like, well, this is the way I'm going.
Yeah. I mean, there were several times in that first game where I was eyeballing bombs, but I figured that it was better to either get yellow cake, deny people placements, or build up my plutonium instead of going after that bomb. And then Matt would grab it, and of course the one bomb that I wanted or needed wasn't there because it went to Zachary before it came to me.
There's a lot of red out on the board. Those first couple bomb placements, yeah.
I mean, it also helps the simple fact that the person who bomb designs gets 2 bombs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you're getting a trash bomb,
Yeah.
It
you can
might end up
still.
being the one you can throw together there at the end.
Yeah.
You never know.
I always, because the first time we played, I was like, why are these people going for plutonium? It's going uranium. When we very first played the game, and I just coming into this, I was like, uranium's trash.
I still do prefer the plutonium route, but a lot does come down to what you can get into your engine. If you can get the more efficient reactors, if you can get that low cost bomb in order to test it, and sometimes the testing early, you get 6 points in a 4-player game. That might only be 3 or 4 points less than the damn bomb itself.
Oh.
So yeah, if you can get what you need, plutonium is definitely my preferred route.
Yeah, you can't pick what you're doing before the game starts, which that was my downfall. The very first few times we played, is thinking I'll just go for uranium and then get the bombs instead of just getting the buildings and then going for what I can with what's up there.
Yeah, you got to react in this game.
Yeah.
So the two biggest parts of the game are variable in buildings and bombs.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny that you guys say that because now we can talk about the third game, which really was very awful, especially for me, but it was also for everybody else because this was the game where I was the cake master. Nobody could get mines, and I had them all.
I think I had a decent one or two.
I didn't have shit.
There towards the end. And no
towards
universities.
the end.
No universities.
I mean,
the 2 at the start, and then there was one other one in play, and that was yours, right?
Yeah,
the one engineer
used by
for 3
everybody.
engineers that you didn't get to use until like halfway into the game.
Yeah.
That first play Zach did was hilarious, man.
Yeah.
As soon as Matt bought that shit, it came down to Zach's turn. He had as
soon as
one engineer.
As soon as that shit hit the board,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I got this mine. I'm Zach. I'm using it.
One engineer turned into 3. He had all of his, and I did it the next time I was able to spot it, whenever it opened up.
yeah.
Yeah, I had no yellow cake through a mine that entire game, except I think with like a spy action later. All my yellow cake was scum bum from the board.
Yeah, there's also no sign. No one had. Did anyone have max scientist?
No.
I had 2.
I had 2 that I was working with through most of the game. I ended at 3. I never did unlock my last scientist.
I couldn't get a scientist until we were halfway through the game.
Yeah,
But I
what
had-
was your? What'd you get? How much yellow cake did you get up to?
I had 25 yellow cake before you guys could get 3. Because I had a mine that produced 5 a round. I had 2 mines. And they produced every time. I was sitting there. I almost took all the yellow cubes out of the game's supply. Even though it's not limited, but I almost had all the cubes. We had to use money.
You had to wing it and throw a yellow cube on a 10 spot just to show, all right, he's got
That's
10
11.
cake per. Give some back to the other players now, please.
But I couldn't get a scientist, which means I couldn't enrich uranium.
shit.
I couldn't make plutonium.
You at least had money with the placing on the yellow cake. It gives you 5 money for 3 yellow cake.
Sell it off.
I want to bring that up because that was the reason. That was my biggest downfall in that game. I didn't do that. I didn't do that early. I didn't start that early enough.
Yeah.
Because if I had been, reflecting on it once I got home. If I had, I was 3 turns away from building my final bomb, and I had, even though I would have screwed this up too. I had built 2 uranium bombs, cheap ones, but it equaled up to 30 points between the both of them. Each one cost $1 to load. I had the $2 sitting right there, and I was trying to play
But
because
did you have the bombers?
no, but I was trying to because then Zachary, that's when he was doing his mad bomb and run. So I was trying to be slow or trying to not have his attention be drawn to me.
Yeah.
And I was about three to 4 turns away from doing my last bomb that would have got me, that I would have been able to produce and then load. If I had been selling my yellow cake, my surplus yellow cake for $5, I would have had plenty of money. But I didn't. And I lost. I lost all 3 games.
That's something along the lines you bring up of kind of trying to fly under the radar from other players. I think that's very more viable in this game than a lot of games. Just because, like, something I didn't think of the first few times was to basically not build any bombs until you have enough to build like 2 bombs or something. Just stay at 0 point for as long as you can, and then all of a sudden build 2 bombs so you immediately get way up there. You can fly under the radar for a while, not get attacked, not get spied so much. And then all of a sudden you're really close to winning, and by then it's too late for the other players to try and do a lot to stop you.
Yeah.
You see a player build a bomb and then immediately come back and produce enough plutonium to potentially do another, like, shit, time to shut his ass down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no limit to how many bombs you can load in a round. It's however much material you have to be able to build it, and money.
And the workers that do the
project.
project.
And the workers.
But by the end game, normally you've got 12 if you've been...
Yeah, because like in that first game that I won, I was actually just 1 scientist short of building both bombs I needed to win and loading them to go from 0 to 50 in 1 turn. I was really close to actually doing that. So.
And then the evil Midnight Bomber, which bombs at midnight, went right over there and lit you up. You ended up winning, but I know you got lit up.
Well, was there anything else to say about that last game?
Well,
I had money. I had lots of money. Because the factory, I ended up getting both of the early money factories. I got another one later on. And I think money is often overlooked in this game. Yeah. It's pretty damn tight.
Yeah, it is.
And there was a lot of times where SPY was open and somebody wanted SPY. Somebody didn't have $3 to take SPY.
Dude.
Yep.
So there's some key actions on that board that if you ain't got the money, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
So I think it's often overlooked.
I did a very poor job of I wasted a lot of turns, especially in the early game, wasting turns, not planning ahead, to where if I would have taken a certain action 1 turn, I could have had a much better action the next turn. Right. And I did a lot of that ended up just kind of snowballing and putting me so far behind.
That can happen a lot in this game.
So you gotta, especially in those early turns where you don't really have an efficient play, just look forward to the next turn and try and just build up to that next turn. And then you have, you get what you want as the turn later. But I ended up kind of piecemealing my strategy too much to where I didn't really gain a whole lot from a few of those turns, and I just fell behind.
You were talking about that about the spy track and not being able to use it. That 3rd game, every time. You guys,
I
you guys
used that like 20 times in the 3rd game.
You guys would all recall, and it'd just be wide open. All I heard was Harley, place. But guess what? Harley either didn't have the $3 or he didn't have any other guys to place.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to use that spy action 0 in the 3rd game. First game, I was all over it. I was top dog, throwing it on everybody. My goon squad was going out taking buildings. I was feeling good. 3rd game, I got no scientist, no spy track.
Nobody had any fucking scientists.
Had all the yellow cake in the world. So I mean, what I took away from the 3rd game was, if you find yourself with an extreme amount of mines and production of yellow cake, produce it every round and sell it every time. Go sell, place your 2 workers on the mines, produce the mines, retrieve.
In that case, try and go for your uranium bombs, because you'll have a shitload of yellow cake and a shitload of money, and that's all you need to build uranium bombs.
That's what they cost.
Yeah.
They're a lot of money.
So once at that point, if you had eventually gotten scientists, you could have just raced right up the uranium track and immediately built a couple bombs.
That's all I did. I had 2 bombs.
Yeah.
I had 2 uranium bombs and the 3rd in my hand to win.
Yeah.
The money is what screwed me in that one. But yeah, I mean, that's all I could say. Build a nest egg, build your uranium, bide your time and watch for everybody else. And if you find yourself... Oh, something else that we didn't talk about? Are the buildings that came out too.
The 3rd game?
Yeah, they were all reactors.
Tons of reactors. There was no universities again. There was 3 in play for almost the entirety of the game. I think a 4th finally ended up out there, and nobody bought the damn thing, but it was there.
Because it was too late.
Yeah, and there weren't many factories. Like I said, I had the 2 from the base set, or the opening cards. I grabbed 1 other one. There might have been a few others in play. The rest of the damn game was just black and red on that board. Yeah.
And there was
round and round.
There's exactly 3 mines. You got 2, you got 1. Me and Jeremy had no mines for a long time.
You had the university.
Yeah, I did have university that game.
That got stole from.
Yeah.
Hilariously.
His university's got spy tracked for what, 4 rounds?
Yeah. 1 for 3, man. 1 for 3. I got all my engineers in the 2nd round. Right after Zach got it in the 1st round in, man. The very next play.
The community
Wanna
engineer.
go
The community engineer school.
Yeah.
At the fucking DeVry University of Engineers. That actually didn't really hurt my strategies a whole lot, but
No.
It would have been nice to have had those
It was
earlier, though.
yeah.
It
was
not
basically
get
like-
cock block on him 2-3 rounds. in
Yeah,
a
it's
row.
like it didn't give me a whole lot of advantage not doing it, but it just evened the playing field for everybody else.
Except me.
It basically gave me all
Yeah, you never did get to jump in on the 3 engineer.
I didn't get to use the spy track, period. That's how game chasing go. Before we, again, just whatever we're going to do, whatever we're going to call it. I had actually, this is one of the few times I actually went to Board Game Geek and, looked up strategies, and I found this guy on the Board Game Geek forums. His name was Sam Carroll, and he had three strategies he thought were the main strategies for however many plays that he had done. He said by no means was it comprehensive, but these were the 3 that he thought were the best. And the first one was to build big uranium bombs, because 2 big uranium bombs, probably the loading, is enough to win anything but a 2-player game. I mean, that's what you did, right?
Yeah.
There's some 30-point uranium bombs out there.
Yeah, I had 30-point uranium with the load and a 10-point uranium with the load. 50 points.
The second one was build small uranium bombs, and he said that this strategy aims to take advantage of the low loading cost of uranium bombs. And funny thing is when I was reading this and writing this all out today, that's when I discovered that we weren't paying for the bombs.
We had an even lower cost for our bombs.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Here's $1. Put that shit out there.
Yeah.
5 points.
The third one was to build plutonium bombs, and basically to test it and then build. And that's...
Is there any strat for building... Is there any way to test one bomb and build one massive plutonium bomb and get enough points?
Not
Is
really.
it not quite?
Yeah. Even
Even if you test the first one and get 9 points, build a massive plutonium bomb and load it.
I think even the highest values on the plutonium are
36.
cap out around.
It's 36.
I thought there was a 40.
36.
Was there one 40-pointer?
I don't know. I didn't see a 41, but I had the 36.
Yeah.
I
So
had
you
the
could-
36 once you test.
Yeah, so if you go a 36-pointer, if you got the 9-point test...
It's an 8-point.
Oh, 8-point.
Yeah, it goes 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. 8's not even out there.
And if you load it...
It cost
okay,
$8.
yeah, so-
It cost $8 to load that
Okay.
36. I remember that because I couldn't load it.
And a bomber.
So the most you
Oh,
could,
yeah, and
the
a
most you
bomber.
could possibly do is
Do
one.
not forget that
one
bomber.
massive bomb would be what, 48 is the most you could possibly get with one massive bomb if you test it first.
That'd be enough to win the 5-player, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it 40 points at 5 players?
Especially if you had just went up on, I don't know, yeah, I guess 5 players, yeah.
Because it was 50 points for 4.
Yeah. Especially if you'd, in a 4-player game, if you'd went up at least 3. All you need for a small uranium bomb is 3 uranium.
Yeah.
And that wins you the game. If you had tested the plutonium bomb like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, the third game I ended up doing way more than I needed to just because I could not get the uranium I needed to put the last bomb. I had 2 uranium bombs that, when loaded, exactly 50 points. I had my biggest one built pretty early. Ended up with the plutonium bomb just, somebody did bomb design, that's what fell in my lap kind of thing. And I only built it just because I had a single placement before I had to retrieve everything. Like, well, fuck it, let's build that. Maybe it'll help later on, but it's whenever he decided to bomb the mines, the one good uranium plant I had, and I just couldn't get back on track to get that last bomb built, exact 50. It is still the one I ended up building at the end, but I could have been there a lot earlier had he not had a very, very well-timed bombing run on all of our stuff. He took out some key targets at a key time, and it definitely slowed them down.
Man, I hate you, Zach. That bombing garbage. That was like the biggest bunch of garbage in the world.
It's a good strategy because everyone else, no one builds their defense. At least you guys know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's in all the games I played. I completely ignored building up any of my bombers.
I usually have 2, even in all the 2-player games that I've
Yeah.
played. Generally, it's kind of a waste of turn.
Yeah.
It's kind of crappy to have to go repair, especially if you're the one going there to pay for it. Because the other guys, they can at least repair one building for different costs.
Yeah.
It's you can build up to 3 damage for
$5.
$5. Everybody else can build it's $2 for 1 point, $3 for the second point, and $5 for the third point. So basically, it cost everybody else 10
Yeah.
to build the first 3 points of damage.
And even then, if you're not the one paying for it, you're going to do the one thing that you've been missing out on. Maybe 2 if it's like a mine and a plant that are key to your production. But
It's funny that we're talking about that. out of all the times Zachary bombed us,
We didn't repair.
he went one
Yeah,
time.
he went once.
We
Yeah.
repaired. He repaired. I paid $10. He came and bombed us again.
Yeah,
We didn't
you
even
have to-
repair our stuff.
Yeah, that's repairing. You have to time it right. Like you have to time it to where the guy who's doing the bombing is not going to retrieve anytime soon. You know, you have a couple turns to repair, and then you immediately use that building again. So you can't. I don't know. That's something else. I don't know if you considered that before you did your bombing runs. Is everyone's income level? Like if they didn't have enough money to repair, like if everybody didn't have enough money to repair what they wanted to, you could kind of conceivably buy an extra turn, basically.
No, I wasn't, because I was thinking that I'm still getting them to waste some of their resources.
Yeah.
Because as much damage as I did on that last one, I don't think anyone had enough money to repair all the damage, except for Harley, because you only got, someone only bombed once.
You bombed me twice.
I think it was one of mine. I think I had a plutonium reactor you took out.
Yeah, I took out all the mines.
A plutonium reactory.
Plutonium something.
No, I know, but you said reactory.
Did I?
I
reactor
know,
factory,
I know,
you know.
but I just think that was funny.
It was a black card. I wouldn't use it. I was making uranium anyway, but he still blew the shit
That's
up.
racist.
If I could go back to,
I play that card every time.
if I could run that bombing run one more time, I would have taken out reactors and enrichment plants.
Yeah.
That late in the game. If I had those 7 bombers early in the game, I would have taken out the mine.
Yeah.
But because taking out Hartley's mines,
Didn't do anything to me.
well, if I had done it earlier, because people were spying on your
Yeah.
mine to get the yellow.
Well, man, you could get 5 yellow cake for 3 dudes.
Yeah, he had a pretty efficient one that I know I jumped in on at least once.
I didn't need them anymore once I was kicking at 25. I was just sitting back watching y'all grab the yellow cake and go, get after it.
Help yourself.
This is a blood cake. Well, so what else? The only thing I can really say overall, just in general, spy track.
Yeah.
And if you see somebody building up forces on you, at least build fighters to take out their bombers. Now that we know that I'm definitely going to take care of business next time.
Yeah, that makes investing into for someone who doesn't ever invest in the bombing or fighter tracks, gives me a lot more incentive to do so now, just to negate other people's bombs.
Yeah.
Especially if they're looking to load, which is pretty huge now. Gotta think about it.
Yeah, those 5 points.
Because yeah, pretty much
It's epic, man.
pretty much everybody is gonna load at one point or another in the
Yeah.
game.
Do it for 2 bombs, that's what?
Except, yeah, basically,
20%.
it basically saves you a bomb.
Score.
Basically,
Yeah.
instead of making a third bomb, you just pay some bucks and you get a third bomb. Essentially,
And a bomber.
yeah.
Yeah.
Key point there.
I'd have to second your spy strat. I think it's just going to supplement any kind of strategy that's out there. If it's open and you can get it, go get it. And I'm
Yeah.
going to second not overlooking money to make sure you can jump on the spy track when it's open. But yeah, having some extra cash to throw around, I mean, it's an easy thing to overlook whenever it comes down to, well, shit, now I need to load this bomb. Or if you're doing uranium and you're a few coins short of being able to produce that last turn, that'd make it much more efficient. Even if it's a building that don't think it's going to be there if it makes another round.
Yes.
You can overpay for it. Just it could be a key piece in your engine.
Well,
So
what
having some money to throw around is, I think it's an important thing to look out for.
In that third game, didn't I pay 10 for that mine?
I think so.
I think so.
Only
In
because
one of those games, I
because
paid
I
10
didn't
for a
pay
mine.
14 for
Didn't
it.
somebody pay
Yeah.
14 for something?
That's
like that?
right. Yeah.
I decided
It was
against
in
paying the 14.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've got something else. He ended up grabbing it for 10. And yeah, it's just, I was 1 coin short about it. I had 13, so.
Yeah, there's been a lot of situations where, like, if I did have the money, I would have bought that expensive building at that
A couple
point.
extra
Just-
bucks because it's definitely nice to have. So don't overlook the factories.
And something else about the money. If you have a bad start, building that money is essential for you to do a late game comeback and to stomp. Because a lot of that, because especially in that last game when I didn't have the money, is the money the yellow cake that I was selling is what I was using to fund my enrichment plant. I didn't have the money to fund the enrichment. So
Yeah, I would say my biggest takeaway, my biggest sweet strat would be aggressive with bomb design. Like, just try to get it before anyone else does.
Yeah.
Get that one bomb that get the most efficient bomb out there, and build your strategy around that bomb.
okay, so let me ask you this: how would you go about building your engine then, besides obviously needing mine and universities. Do you think you should tailor the other cards, the other buildings that you buy, based on bomb design, or buying buildings and then bomb design?
I think it kind of goes both ways. If generally you can spend the first few turns just building up workers and getting mines,
right?
And then you can kind of go whatever strategy you want to after that. But if you're able to say get a cheap uranium plant early, you're able to produce a little bit of uranium and then take bomb design. You can immediately get the most efficient uranium out there. I mean, I think it goes kind of both ways, really.
So it's like whichever is, you think maybe whatever looks most efficient depending on the two out of the cards that come out?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of goes back into our kind of opening thoughts on a lot of variable strategy in this game that you kind of have to adjust on the fly based on what you get and what everyone else is doing, really.
Well, so do you think that if you were lucky enough, say, to get a decent or an efficient enrichment plant, or what's the reactor for plutonium?
Reactory.
Reactory. Or if you get an efficient one, do you think you should go bomb design next in order to just immediately start building with and use that as your strategy?
Yeah, I think you definitely could. I mean, it obviously depends on what workers you got out, but I mean, I think I would. If I was able to get a nice uranium plant, I think the next turn I would very seriously consider going bomb design if there was an efficient uranium out there.
Yeah, or get like that with the one scientist plutonium. One scientist and a few cake.
Yeah. One
scientist, a little bit of cake and some coins for 1 or 2 uranium. If you can get one of those early game, then you can actually start to slowly build up. Then I'll probably jump in on bomb design.
Yeah,
I'd already start thinking about getting where my 50 points are going to be coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
But it depends on what hits the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can efficiently use those cheap plants every turn, you're going a long way, because you're getting on the board, going up the tracks well before anyone else has even got their stuff going.
Just the one rinky-dink scientist you managed to pick up earlier on.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to say, don't overlook the scumbum ways on the main board, like I did.
Yeah, I think I overlooked the onboard uranium and plutonium tracks, whatever they're called.
I did too.
I was using them in tandem with I was using the reactor on the board in tandem with my plutonium reactor, and it was moving me up to plutonium every other round.
That's the way to do it when you can.
Yeah, they're usually not as efficient as what you have on your board, but sometimes you got just the amount of workers and money left to do it, and you just
that's the one option that's going to push you up one on the track in order to build that last bomb you need.
Yeah. Well, I think we pretty much petered out there.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Anything else?
Tapped out.
So,
copyright.
Espionage.
Don't take scientists on the first round like it does.
Start building your engine. No,
it's quick.
If you're going somewhere on the main board, get your engine going.
Oh, this is something I also wanted to bring up. Since we're talking about the main board. Okay, so there's spots on the main board that when you use them, they give everybody things. Like there's a spot that you could place a worker. You get $5, but everybody else gets $2. There's a spot where you get 2 yellow cake.
You get 3, and everybody else gets 1.
1.
Yeah.
And how do you guys feel about the fact that using? I mean, obviously, if you have to use these spots, I mean, there's nothing else you can do. Yeah. But I mean, would you normally use them if you didn't absolutely have to?
I'd definitely be paying attention to what other players have.
Yep.
If it's going to give somebody 3 coins that they're going to use to jump in on the spy next time it's open, then I'm not going to risk it. I'll try and find that money somewhere else. But yeah, it definitely comes down to what it's going to give the other players and if it's going to be opportune for them and more efficient.
Yeah, like if you're gonna get a much bigger benefit out of that 3 yellow cake or whatever, then I think it's best just to go for it and just say, fuck it for everyone else. But it's just weighing the risk and reward of it, really.
Well, I mean, I know in the last game you guys didn't really have much of a choice other than to go the scumbum route to get yellow cake.
And if you're another good point is if you're well in control, like if you're the one player that's leading the game, then you can just kind of be more aggressive, take those cheap, efficient ones, and then it doesn't really matter what everyone else is getting because you're pretty far ahead on anyway. So you end up getting further ahead while your opponents don't gain a whole lot.
All right. Oh, also, if you see somebody building up, make sure you at least building up bombers. Make sure you at least build up fighters so you can take out their bombers. So you don't have to go into the underground bunker and yell air raid while the evil midnight bomber is tearing you up. You need to call him the Tick to get in on that action. That was my favorite episode. I said, yeah, baby, yeah.
Yeah, that was actually supposed to be Sam Kinison.
Oh, doing that?
Yeah, they had, before he died, they were wanting to do it.
Did he died that close to?
I think it was in like pre-production, or they were like shopping it around.
Oh, that's too bad because he died what, late 80s, early 90s? Or wait, I read it. I remember being in the supermarket with Dad when I read that.
It had to be like when was Tick first? It was like mid 90s when it first came out, wasn't it? The Tick.
Oh man, bust out your phone.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we're not going to
that
discuss
far.
about that on the. But yeah, if you can see that episode with the evil Midnight Bomber, I definitely say watch it because it's hilarious. I can't tell you how many times Saturday morning after a night of partying, we'd sit there at 10 o'clock in the morning, being 17, watch the damn Tick in the morning.
Do you want to say hi to anyone from the Board Game Bash that's listening?
Oh, the sweet baby Brandon.
Well, sweet baby Brandon, you know he's going to hear it, but maybe someone will hear about it from you guys who are down there.
Yeah, we'll be repping our Sweet Strats t-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Zach, go print some t-shirts.
Yeah. Get them to us before we leave at
Sharpie.
9 a.m. in the morning.
I actually was wanting to make buttons that said, ask me about Sweet Strats.
I tell you what.
Dude, we need that. Do it.
Ask me about rules blunders. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Ask me about Manhattan Project.
If we had time, I'd go get a damn t-shirt and write that on it. Just to wear it down there. Ask me about Sweet Strats. Write it out in Sharpie. Oh, man. I almost thought about
We need to get like a sign. Say, come play our Sweet Strats over here at the table.
Well, hopefully we keep doing this, and by this time next year we'll be able to do a not maybe completely on the road show, but at least have some people be able to talk and then bring it back.
Coming at you live from Board Game Bash 2016.
Yeah, maybe Board Game Geek. That's where I'd really like to go, but
Better buy your tickets in January.
Yeah. The first day they announced it, I'm buying.
I even said it last year. Like, I want to make sure I get in early on that. Is
yeah.
able to make it. Nope.
I'll give you all a Sweet Strat if you listen to the not Mo, but Lyndon told me, because apparently he worked in the hospitality industry. As if you work at a motel, a hotel.
Yeah.
So apparently he worked at a motel, and maybe he worked for the Marriott, or I forget where it is, where Board Game Geek is actually held. I think it's the Marriott. Anyways, what he does is, as soon as Board Game Geek is over for the year, he calls up the Marriott and is like, "Hey, I need to reserve a room for these days." And guess what days they are? The days that Board Game Geek is going. So when they announce, on the site, when they announce Board Game Geek Convention is up and running, we have a block of rooms. What he does is he calls and has them readjust his rate for the rate that they quote the convention, or he cancels his reservation and immediately rebooks it. Because obviously there's a room open.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet strat.
So Sweet Strat, thank you, Lyndon, for that.
Sweet Strat, clip coupons.
Isn't that the truth? So next episode, Spectre Ops.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I want to leave you guys with a little something tonight. So now it's time to say goodbye. But before we do, I want to leave you with a Sweet Strat for life at conventions. If you find yourself at a board game cafe or a convention or just a regular old gaming store, and somebody comes up to you with a white box and says, "Excuse me, I've been working on this game for a while, and I was wondering, would you like to try it?" You look that guy right dead in the eye, and you say, "Listen here, fella, I didn't come here to play your homegrown bullshit. Move along." Not only will this get you out of that situation free and clear, but it'll get you out of jury duty. Night.
If you want to contact the show, you can reach us at sweetstrats@gmail.com, or you can find us on social media at facebook.com/sweetstrats or at sweetstrats on Twitter. See you next time.
Strats! Sweet Strats, are you gaming with me? Sweet Strats, Sweet Strats, are you gaming with me? Are you gaming with me?